Hare Krishna. How to be more spiritual. So I'll just tell you my background. Like I grew up in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I'm American. So I grew up in Ann Arbor, Michigan and just a normal life, normal American life, went to school, got a job, but growing up I didn't really have any kind of spiritual consciousness. I wasn't very spiritual. I wasn't a very spiritual person, you could say. I was kind of open-minded, but not very spiritual. But when I was around 24 years old, something happened in my life. Like everything changed, everything went wrong for me. So at that point, I just prayed to God, like, God, please help me. And then what happened is I came in contact with the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And I started to read the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And after that, long story short, but I kind of joined a Hare Krishna temple. I joined an ISKCON temple. I became a monk for many years. I would live in temples in America, and I lived in temples in India. And yeah, and right now, I'm actually in Vrindavan, India, Sri Vrindavan Dham. So I have a little bit of experience on spirituality, spiritual topics, because it's something I've been practicing for like over 15 years now. Because it was probably, is that right? Yeah. Because it was probably in 2007 when I got started. So I can talk a little bit about spirituality. During the past 15 years, I've lived in temples. I've read a lot of books. I've meditated a lot. I've chanted a lot. I've danced a lot all around the world. So if you want to be more spiritual, it's very simple. It's very simple. You can, just based on what I've done. Well, actually, if you follow, there's a famous teacher, his name is Rupa Goswami, and he says there's these 5 main spiritual practices that you want to do. So number one, no particular order. Number one, you want to chant the holy names as often as possible. The holy names of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So you want to be chanting. If you keep, like, when I first read the Bhagavad Gita as it is, it was so profound knowledge. I never experienced any knowledge like this in my life growing up. I was around 24, 25 at the time. And I was drinking a lot, smoking. I was addicted to I was doing drugs, drinking, smoking, addicted to cigarettes, all that stuff. And I'm reading Bhagavad Gita. I read it in 3 days, Bhagavad Gita as it is, and it just completely blew my mind. Completely blew my mind. So I could feel myself becoming spiritualized just by reading the Bhagavad Gita as it is and becoming enlightened. So I have personal experience of that. And in the Bhagavad Gita as it is, Srila Prabhupada, who is the translator, he was saying you should chant Hare Krishna. And then he said, the most important thing you can do is chant this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I started chanting that, and immediately I'd start dancing in ecstasy, in a kind of spiritual ecstasy that I've never experienced in my whole life. And this is coming from someone who's done all kinds of drugs, alcohol, sex, you name it. I did everything material, but I never experienced this kind of bliss. And it came from chanting Hare Krishna. So, and I've been chanting Hare Krishna for over 15 years. So if you want to be more spiritual, number one, chant Hare Krishna as often as possible. You can chant it on beats. You can just chant and clap like Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You can sing it around the house, on the streets, wherever you are. You can always chant Hare Krishna. You can play with instruments. You can chant with other devotees. You can chant and dance in the temple. You can chant anywhere. There's no restrictions. So you want to chant as much as possible, because when you're chanting the holy names, you're associating with Krishna, who is God. And that's what spirituality is. He's the source of everything, Krishna. So when you're talking about spiritual, you're talking about God. There's nothing more spiritual than God. So when you're chanting God's holy names, you're in contact with the source, because Krishna's name is not different. So if you want to be more spiritual, chant Hare Krishna as often as possible. Number 2, Srimad Bhagavatam. You want to read and study the books like Bhagavad Gita as it is, Srimad Bhagavatam, and there's countless other literatures. But really, if you just focus on reading Srimad Bhagavatam, you want to start off with Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita as it is, you go to Srimad Bhagavatam, and then you can go to this Chaitanya Charitamrita. All these books are by Srila Prabhupada, and I recommend his books because I've read them personally, and they completely changed my life. So you can start with these books, and then you can read other books, but trust me, if you just read these books again and again, you'll become more spiritual. Number 3, you want to associate with devotees. A devotee is someone who's worshiping Krishna, who's a follower. I'm going to stick to Krishna because this page is Hare Krishna. It's all about Hare Krishna. It's about Krishna. It's a Krishna page. Krishna means all attractive. It's a name for God. So Krishna is God. So you want to associate with devotees of God who are following the path of Krishna consciousness, bhakti yoga. So you associate with devotees who inspire you, who you feel good around. But if you don't have devotees, you can also associate with Srila Prabhupada through his books. By reading Srila Prabhupada's books, you're associating with Srila Prabhupada because he's not different than his books. So you can read, if you want a devotee association, just start reading Srila Prabhupada's books. Then you can associate with the devotee anytime, any place. There's also tons of videos online of Srila Prabhupada. There's tons of kirtan videos you can watch, listen to, download. Yeah, so that's number 2. Is that number 2? That's number 3. So number four is worshiping the deity. So worshiping the deity, if you go to temples, there's deities there. You can worship the deities at the temple, or you can worship deities at your home. The deity is not different than Krishna. So when you're worshiping the deity, when you're praying to the deity, you're praying directly to Krishna. So if you want to be spiritual, you want to go to the temple, offer your prayers to Krishna, chant in front of Krishna, and this is how you become more spiritual. You pray to the deity, you serve the deity, you offer things to the deity, you cook for the deity, etc., etc. You get the idea. And number 5, you want to visit places like Sri Vrindavan Dham. If you don't know what Sri Vrindavan Dham is, it's basically Krishna's land. It's Krishna's abode. Like in the spiritual world, there's Gloka Vrindavan. This is where Krishna is eternally, and he has all his pastimes with the gopis. He's singing, dancing with the gopis and the gopas. Gopis are, they're Krishna's, basically. There's the gopis, they're basically women in the spiritual world, call them gopis. And there's gopas, Krishna's friends. So Krishna's in Goloka Vrindavan, and he during the day, he milks the cows. He spends time with his friends, the gopas. They play games, they wrestle, they have fun in the forest of Vrindavan, this is a completely spiritual world, and it's just completely spiritual and blissful, full of bliss. This is the kingdom of God, so it's a completely blissful place. And Krishna's associated with all his different devotees and the gopis. He'll dance with the gopis on the shores of the Yamuna River. He'll spend time with the gopis. Also during the day and at night, they'll have so many pastimes. They'll be dancing in the forest of Vrindavan, Krishna and the gopis, and then Krishna goes to sleep, and it happens all over again. It's like eternal pastimes, never ending. Everything's a reflection of these pastimes. So you want to, and Vrindavan, where the same Vrindavan is actually manifests in different places in the universe. On this earth planet, Vrindavan is now in Sridham Vrindavan. You can find it in India. It manifested in India. So you can find it. You can go visit it actually. That's Krishna's mercy and blessings that he actually lets his abode manifest in this material world. So if you go to India, you go to Sri Vrindavan Dham, and you go there and you can visit the holy Dham and the holy land of Krishna, which is non-different than Krishna himself. So you go and you spend time in Vrindavan and you become more spiritual because it's such a spiritual place. You'll see, I've spent a lot of years here, and it's just being here, you become more spiritual. So if you follow these 5 things, you'll become more spiritual. What happens when you become more spiritual? You become more blissful. You have more knowledge, more detachment. Life is just better. Your enlightenment. When you're enlightened, everything is wonderful. Everything is blissful. Everything is happiness. There's no more sadness, no more ignorance. So being spiritual means more happiness, more knowledge, more peace. That's why you want to be more spiritual, all these things. And ultimately, it means freedom from all suffering. So the goal is to be more spiritual, and you can be more spiritual by practicing all these 5 things. Hare Krishna.